I'd love to hear any of your questions. I'm going to open the floor. Um, if you ask something, I am going to repeat it so that way the video can um, catch it. But yeah. So what are shipping reimbursements slash credits? Are you talking about the new seller shipping credits that you get? Because they will.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so when you create a new account, there's a couple things you may need to do to qualify for some of the credits, but new accounts, they can give you like up to $75 in shipping credits, so that way you don't need to pay the cost to ship products to Amazon, because that's what you're doing when you ship FBA. It can be pretty helpful, especially if you have like $75 to do it, because if I send in 30 products and they're all in one box, the average cost per item to ship is only like 25 cents. So that's like my first 5 shipments at least to send into Amazon that are all covered by Amazon.
All right, understood.
Catmaster asked, is there an age you have to be to sell? Yeah, you need to be 18 and or older to create an Amazon account. However, it is not unheard of for like a 16-year-old to have their parents create an Amazon account and they use that Amazon account. You do want to be able to be at least of driving age so you can get to these retail stores, or at least have some form of transportation. Is there a way to check price on Amazon like scanning items on eBay? Yes, that's what the Amazon seller app does, as well as Keepa. I hope I answered that through the presentation, but if I didn't, feel free to ask again and maybe clarify. I buy pallets and I'm having trouble with what to do with my inventory. I also have about 15 more pallets coming Sunday. Pallet flipping is really lucrative, especially if you're ungated. The problem is if you buy like a pallet of like T-Mobile phone cases or something like that, you'll need to be ungated in OtterBox and um, Spark and a bunch of the other like phone case brands. But
Actually, can I make a comment on that? Because I'm actually helping him sell get those pallets. I took
yeah,
part of those pallets with him.
that's
He
cool.
basically went over and just bought a bunch of pallets, Home Depot, and I was actually scanning things. We actually found some whiskey glasses that were like $153. Uh,
Really?
yeah, some really good stuff. The thing is though, is that he's trying. I'm trying to get him started into this Amazon, so on and so forth. Um, but I guess what the question is, uh, do you see any kind of profit or anything like that, or what should we be looking for? What things to watch out for? I guess with buying pallets.
Um, the problem with pallets is it's a little bit like gambling in a sense that like
Mhm.
it really differs on the time of year and what products you get with the pallets. And sometimes you'll buy a pallet that's just dog water because they sent you a bunch of like returns for products that just are not awesome. Um, the biggest thing I'd say is if you're buying a pallet, try to buy pallets from retailers that are going to carry products that you are ungated in. And I mean, you sounds like you're doing what's right, which is to scan everything in that pallet. And anything that sells for a profit on Amazon and is good condition, I would list it. Sell them FBA if you can. If not, you can try FBM. Um,
Yep.
Beyond that, there are local liquidation centers that will likely buy the pallet off of you if you find something that's not profitable because they'll buy it. They'll buy it off you for cheap and then resell it for like $1 a piece at a lot of those items. So if you try to find a product from a pallet that isn't like super profitable, that's my suggestion. Or sell them on eBay slash OfferUp. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're buying pallets off like B stock or something like that, that's my preferred way to go. If that makes sense. So if I got banned from Amazon, what can I do? I would actually be happy to help you out with. I have a bunch of templates that I could give you as far as appealing a ban. It depends really on the reasoning. So Giraffe, if you want to DM me, I would look at into helping you out one on one. That'd be cool. Um, you mentioned how you can only have one seller account per IP. My dad has one, but it's inactive. Is there any limitations for me to sell on another person's account? I would be very cautious about creating a new account if you're under the same household. Um, if he's cool with it, I would suggest you try to sell on his account because, like, if me and a buddy of mine if I was renting a room out to somebody and in my house, and if he registered an Amazon account, that would lead to both of us getting banned. So my biggest piece of advice for that is just to talk to your dad, see if he would let you sell it if he's not using the account, or see if he could close the account and reach out to Amazon support and say, hey, my dad used to have a seller account. He's no longer using it. I'd like to create a new one and see what they can do for you. Um, so without paying for a pro account, people can't buy from the buy box. Yeah, so non-pro sellers are not eligible to get the buy box on their listings. So um, personally, you should be making $40 a month at least off your products if you're sourcing right. I think it's a no-brainer to purchase the pro seller account. But if you are first looking to get started, no, actually, I'm not even going to say that. I would highly suggest against doing the individual account because not getting the buy box is just going to stunt your growth when you're creating a new seller account and you're trying to get started. Um, I don't advise any of our current members in ACE and Central to do that, and I'm going to say the same for everybody here in Drip. I don't think it's worth it. Are there online products we can get for FBA? Yes, that's called online arbitrage. I will not be providing information on exactly how to do that, but I'm happy to answer questions with regard to it. Some great software for that is Tactical Arbitrage or OX or OAX Arbitrage, I believe. I'm trying to find it. Um, but yes, that's some great software that I would use for that. Um, I'm a little confused on how you get the products you source to the Amazon warehouse. The guide breaks down exactly how to ship it. You just do it through Amazon Seller Central. Quite simple, actually. I will be releasing the guides after this presentation, like I said. Do you recommend scan rings? I have some stores that are anti-resellers slash retail arbitrage. Scan rings. Can you elaborate? Um, I
Yeah,
I
they're basically these scanners that go on your finger. I was watching a few. I'm in a retail arbitrage group in Facebook, and they were kind of promoting those in that group because they had some they had basically problems in Target, um,
yes.
and so on. So like those rings kind of hide you a little bit more, you know.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's the Bluetooth scanner on a ring. I haven't actually heard of a Bluetooth scanner being on a ring. I use the little handheld one personally, but um, I Target is anti-reseller. That is true. I prefer when I go to Target, I just use my phone, and if they tell me that I can't sell, which has happened like once, I just tell them, "Oh, I'm using the Target app," and usually they're not going to do anything. Um,
Yeah, I burned like 163 Lego coupons on them. So
nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, they're kind of anti resellers ever since the whole that and between card boomers.
Hmm. Yeah, I know cards were getting really like clipped by Amazon. I mean, by Target, but Lego's really great, and toys and games are great at Target as well. Um, but no, to answer your question, I haven't used a scan ring personally. I use a regular Bluetooth scanner. I've never had a discount department store employee tell me that I'm not allowed to do reselling. Um, Nor have I had any issues going into like a Nike factory store or Adidas store when selling like those types of products. How long do you typically hold on to a slow moving item? Um, can you elaborate? I mean, you typically wouldn't want to purchase a slow moving item, which is something that you can check by checking Keepa and the seller rank before you purchase those products. But um, if it's sitting in the warehouse and it just kind of sucks and like the rank just skyrocketed after you sent it in, Amazon's warehouse fees are not too bad for long term storage. But if you're going to hold the product for more than 3 months, um, I would be worried as a seller who's been on the platform for a long time. I'd be worried about my IPI score. So I'd usually pull the product, send it back to my house, and I'd figure out something else to do with it. Or I bought a bunch of Under Armour belts and I gave them to like a baseball team or something like that. So I just found like a bunch of different um, uses for products that didn't sell, and you are going to have bad buys. Um, but yeah, do you have to be a U.S. citizen to sell within the U.S.? I don't believe they ask about citizenship. They just want to have some form of like legal ID. And I know as a U.S. seller, you can sell in international markets as well. And like I've sold on Amazon Market or Amazon Mexico, California, Saudi Arabia, tons of different people. Yeah, Donalad has said that. I saw in your group you have calls on certain products from Ross. Do discount stores across the U.S. have similar stock to each other? Because I thought discount they do vary per store, but typically per region you'll find it really just depends on how big the agreement like for the purchase that they buy. So like if you look at the way Marshalls does their inventory, they have one big warehouse in the center of like a metro area that they have all their stores, and then they'll do big bulk purchases with whatever supplier for maybe their liquidation like whatever the purchase agreement is, but they'll get a bunch of inventory and they'll disperse it all throughout their stores. So sometimes those smaller agreements, like those smaller purchases, they're not going to be so profound internationally, um, or not internationally, but like across the US. But in most regions, you'll find that a lot of the products are at most Rosses, if that kind of makes sense. So like a lot of these products, we do have members in different states finding those same products. How much do I make in my first and this year? I guess my first year doing retail arbitrage, I think I made like 60K. It wasn't amazing, but I started halfway through the year. Um, this year, I will say it's in the six figures. I am hesitant to provide exact details on my profitability, but I'll say about six-figure sales numbers. We'll say like 100 and something thousand in the profit margins. We're at the point now where I have a couple of sourcing agents that work for me full time, and I have a bunch of VAs that do online arbitrage for me. How often do you get returns, and what do you do with the returned items? So, in the guides, we talked briefly on this, but you should factor in about a 10% return rate for most FBA items. So, um, FBA just sees more returns just because of the nature of the fulfillment process. People who sell or purchase off Amazon, they just have um, they're more comfortable returning because it's going through Amazon rather than buying FBM, where they could potentially be charged like a restocking fee. So what we say is when you're sourcing the product, just make sure you factor in like if you buy 10 of the product, factor in the cost of one spread out across all of them when you're looking at profitability. And if you get that 1/10 um, return, then you're usually fine. Additionally, you just want to make sure that you're sourcing quality products. Like the image should look good. You shouldn't purchase something that the image isn't on a white background. The rating should look good. The reviews should look good because anything that's going to have like poor ratings and stuff like that is you're just going to get a return despite it having a high sales rank. And then when they return the items, they'll send it back to the warehouse if it's an FBA. If the product is marked fulfillable, they'll put it back in your inventory so you can resell it. If the product has been like opened and messed with too much, they'll offer to either destroy it or send it back to you, or they just started a liquidations service. So after you've got a lot of inventory, you could start taking advantage of the liquidation service. Does it cost money to have it sent back? Yes, they do charge you a small fee. Um, do you have to have a seller history to get ungated using the bot you were talking about? Some people have gotten ungated in like grocery and topicals without having seller history, but some people just have it denied. Um, this is because for ungating, there is some specific key performance indicators that they look at on your application. And if you have no sales, those just show up as zero. They outsource all their ungating application approvals to a bunch of places in India, and I'm going to be a little bit critical of Amazon here, but they don't train them very well. So you'll get some of the sales reps, they'll say one thing, and some of the sales reps will say another thing. My advice is to prevent getting declined repeatedly, get some sales history. Um, what kind of box supplier do you recommend? So if you're doing FBM, I recommend Uline for buying boxes in bulk. I don't recommend Uline if you're just doing retail arbitrage, especially if you're just starting out. I recommend just going to Home Depot or something like that and buying a couple medium boxes, or doing that thing, like I said, where you go into a grocery store, tell them you're moving, they'll give you a ton of boxes. Paid auto ungaters. Yeah, I advise heavily against using any sort of ungating service or faking invoices. I know some people do that. You can get in big trouble for that. Um, We do, as part of like our partnership with Drip, we actually are providing a lot of auto ungates. Um, Atlas was pretty adamant about that, so he really fought to make sure that we included that with you guys. So we're pretty excited to kind of provide some of those from the server. So yeah, do you guys have other questions?
Sorry, just while they're typing, have you ever done like a glitch deal, like off Amazon to do Amazon, let's say to a family's house or something?
Yeah, like Amazon to Amazon flips.
Yeah,
I advise personally that my members don't do that. Anybody who's willing to do that is allowed to, but it is against Amazon's terms of service.
yeah,
If you get caught, to use Prime shipping
hmm,
to
yeah,
send, like, to order products from Amazon to send it back to them. Like,
yeah,
that's only if you get caught.
yeah,
But I would be very very upset if I, like, Amazon and Amazon flips, the ones I've found are only like $2 profit, which sure, that's awesome that you can just order it quickly and send it back, but
I
it's
got
not
four
worth
hundred
it to
eighty nine
me.
dollars worth of Amazon Red Bull that I got for free. So I'm
Really?
trying to, but unfortunately I ordered it to my address. But I'm just like thinking in my head like, dang, I should have ordered my grandmother's address, got ungated, and then flipped it later.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you waited, I'm sure
Yeah,
it'd be harder to detect. But I
yeah,
will say it is against Amazon's terms of service, and just because personally I'm more of an advocate for long-term growth, I always will
yeah,
say follow Amazon's policies
yeah,
because they
yeah.
are they say jump, you should say how high.
Yep, yep, yep. I agree.
What's your thoughts on the recent IPI limit? Since the allowable inventory to be sent back has been strictly reduced, a lot of sellers have increased FBM as well. Have you switched some due to this change? Um, when you're talking about IPI limits, are you talking about the new, like, barrier for lower IPI scores and their restrictions on how much product they can have in a warehouse? I I don't think it'll affect new sellers because your first, like, 60 days of being a new seller, anyways, you won't even have an IPI score. Um, and I think that for retail arbitrage, but I will say, if you're an established retail arbitrage seller, to combat that, and the only thing that worries me is, um, when you start doing retail arbitrage at scale, you will have a lot of products in your inventory that Amazon's going to say, hey, you should be replenishing these, but you can't find them for a profitable amount in your retail stores, or most retailers that you purchase them from. Like, if you bought them on clearance or something, they're not going to carry it anymore. It's really important that you close those listings to try to increase your IPI. Um, and yeah, if you are finding that you're getting restricted on how much your shipments are, or like how big your shipments to Amazon can be, I would definitely say, um, add FBM into your regimen, especially if you're finding like stuff that Amazon is sometimes in stock on. I would say definitely, like, looking at FBM for those and trying to figure out what you can sell FBM. But personally, I haven't really been affected by these um, inventory restrictions. In a sense, I haven't had any of my shipments limited. Are you planning on releasing guides on how to establish connections with manufacturers for wholesale or something similar? So we will not be releasing wholesale, like, at scale finding wholesale deals, but we are releasing um, establishing connections with manufacturers, or with wholesale companies for ungating, which you can then use if you're interested in looking at how to get wholesale agreements with those manufacturers, if that kind of makes sense. And I will say there is some free information online. If you already have some wholesalers, I would look at maybe seeing what information you can find online if that's something you're interested in. While we have people typing, I did have a question just for everybody here. How many of you, if you don't mind typing in chat or even saying over voice, how many of you already sell on Amazon or already have an Amazon account? It's about 50-50, it looks like. That's cool. I was mostly just curious as to people's current experience. I will say, like, I am not opposed if everybody here is interested in further information beyond retail arbitrage. I mean, that would be something I would chat about with um, Drip's team, and we could kind of look at providing stuff, um, or kind of figuring out a solution for that. But Anybody have any questions over voice or chat as well? Because I see people typing, but I'm just curious. When we create an Amazon seller account, does that relate to our normal one we use for normal purchases? Yes, in a sense that when you create a seller account, they may ask you to log into your personal account, but they are treated separately. Like you'll create a new seller account under with the new store name and everything. It won't be like tied to your personal account. You can have multiple personal accounts, but you can only have one seller account. What if you forgot you had an Amazon seller account and you made a new one on accident and it gets banned? Is there a way to get on it? Yeah, you could have submit an appeal and just kind of outline your plan of action and what happened. And you may need to be like very adamant when you're chatting with Amazon because usually like any appeal you send will get rejected immediately. That's just like how they do it. They just like to reject you and see if you're like if you'll set your foot down in a sense. But yeah, you kind of have to act like a Karen and really like set your foot down. But yeah, I mean, if you already have an Amazon seller account and you made a new one on accident and got banned, I would just say they'll send you an email. They'll say, "Hey, this account is related to this account, like your previous account. That's why we banned you." And they'll ask you for more information, and then you can kind of look at submitting an appeal. Yes, I have a template that I can provide you for that if that happens. If it really depends on how long it's been. Like if you know for sure that you have one, I would advise maybe creating it under a new account, such as like or a new address, such as like a UPS address or something like that. So how's it going, Monkey Man? Um, do I endorse the software RevSeller? Yes, definitely. It's a little expensive, but it's really, really useful, especially when you are like creating shipments. If you wanted to like quickly look at your the listing before you created your shipment on your um, totally just spaced out. Sorry. If you created a shipment through Amazon send to Amazon software, like shipping software, um, and you're wanting to double check that all of the information on that is solid, I would definitely recommend RevSeller. Additionally, if you're doing any sort of online arbitrage or wholesale or private label, RevSeller is awesome. Indelible, in my experience and from current members, I've had a couple members get banned because they've created multiple accounts. Um, that is not true from what I've experienced, but I'd be interested in hearing why, like where you're hearing that because I'm not. If you're not working the reseller model initially, but instead work with the local mom and pop company that makes a product not currently available on Amazon, but is in decent domestic demand, can that be a segue into leveraging credibility to branch out into arbing retail goods? Yeah, definitely. And in fact, I would say you're at an advantage there because you're creating your own listings and you're kind of learning what is private label in a sense, or at least becoming like a brand owner on Amazon and um, kind of seeing how that side of things work. And you can definitely use the capital that you make from that and put it into um, doing arbitrage, both online and retail. Um, and I would say, like, if you have a brand, especially with like a local mom and pop company, and you know it has good demand, I would say look at trying to figure out how you can leverage and scale that as much as possible on the platform. Yeah, we do have a box resizer in the supplies list. Yeah, for everybody here, if you're interested in starting retail arbitrage, definitely look at getting a box resizer. It's an amazing tool, and I'm amazed at how many people don't endorse that. Saves a lot of money with shipping, and it's like $12 to buy one new. I personally don't use the Rolo just because I started with my Dymos and I have a bunch of those, but I know I've heard awesome things about the Rolo, and a lot of people like that you can like if you're first starting out and you wanted to do a Rolo and have a printer that does both FN SKUs and shipping labels, that's a really great option. On the same vein of thought with mom and pop's product marketing, you're saying grow and manage that as much as possible, which makes sense. Why list via Amazon versus creating a Shopify niche online single website and maintaining the brand in theory on your own terms? Help elaborate on the pros and cons of FBA versus self management. Um, No, I haven't covered that, so you're totally fine. So I've done both Shopify and Amazon, and Shopify's you are correct. If you want to make your own like sales network and kind of get your own sort of branding and marketing going, I would say that it's definitely something to look at. One thing I would also advise is why not both? If you are looking to run a Shopify online website, you actually can use FBA as a method of product fulfillment, or at least you used to be able to. I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but you could send your inventory to Amazon as FBA, and then they will allow you to, when somebody orders on your Shopify website, Amazon will send them the product from FBA's warehouse. So that way you can have a listing on Amazon, because that's where most people are going to look for price checking. And like when I was selling those, I mentioned hook hoops a while ago. That was like a little fidget toy that I was selling, and I had private labeled. Most of my customers, if they didn't buy from me, they were going on Amazon and typing in hook hoops or typing in fidget rings and purchasing from there. So I would say it's very advantageous to have both. And with Amazon, if you can create like a store for the brand itself, that's also a great option. So like if you look at if you type in like maybe any tech brand, most of these private label brands, they'll have their own Amazon store where they have all their products, and a lot of customers will look through there as well. So um, what I would say with self management is you would be tying up a lot of your time manually fulfilling products, which doesn't seem like it's that long. But when I first started doing hook hoops, we eventually switched to a third party logistics network called ShipBob. They did all of our handling for that. But um, the when we first started doing hook hoops, and I realized that it was a thing, and I was manually like making the bubble mailers and putting the shipping labels and everything, that was a very like long and arduous process. And if the second you start scaling, you're going to be very bogged down. Like seller list or inventory lab 100%, man. That's what I always go for. I think inventory lab is very polished, but I am a little biased because I have limited experience with Exceller list. I appreciate inventory labs accounting software because they have automatic reconciliation with Amazon, and it really helps when I send my reports to my CPA. He'll help me with all my taxes. So, and Scoutify too is a pretty badass program. Yeah, exactly. Um, I don't know how cool everybody here is with me plugging something, but Amazon or ASIN Central is releasing our own sourcing app, and I'm not going to say anything more, but it is changing the game for retail arbitrage, and I'm more than happy to figure out something we could do to partner up with Drip on that. So if anybody here would be interested in that, that's also something.
Yeah, we're definitely interested.
Cool.
Oh, no.
It's in development right now. I actually just hired a development team, and their biggest clients are. I mean, I started working on it, but we're hiring a developer, and the team that we just hired, their biggest clients are the NBA, Google, and Starbucks. So I'm pretty hyped about that. But all right, guys. I'll say like one more question. Is there anything else? If not, I'll probably wrap this up and see if I can get the video recording. And then if you have any questions, like I said, create a ticket or shoot a question here. Yeah, thanks, guys. And then we will, the second I'm done with this, I'm going to see about getting all these guides and everything published. So if you guys just watch the Amazon FBA category, we'll have it open up for you guys, and that will include the Ungate bot and everything as well, if it isn't already open.
Yeah, I opened them all up.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yep.
Sweet.
Thanks, man. We really appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, guys. I
Great.
appreciate it.
Great job.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna stop recording, and I'll stop sharing. So appreciate your guys' time. I will